भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Let us now pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the universe. Lord, Thou abidest in all, Thou art all, Thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all. Thou art the self of all. Thou art existence, knowledge and bliss. Salutations unto Thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Let us feel the divine centered in our consciousness. God is the soul of our souls. He is the ever unchanging principle. Let us feel that divine as the most loving presence. He is the source of all love. All other loves that we feel are just partial and mostly distorted expressions of that original, supreme love of God. Very lovingly, God takes every care of our well-being. In spite of the follies that we may commit, the love of God remains intact. He is there for us as and when we remember Him. There is no limit to His love. Whatever may be our condition, wherever we may be, whatever we may be doing, still we belong to God. As we feel it, this feeling is drawing us towards Him. Till we feel the oneness and total absorption in Him. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Asatu Ma Sadgamaya Tamasu Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmam Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, and from this mortal, limited existence to the immortal, unlimited, true existence. Peace, peace, peace. Today's topic is kind of funny. Funny means that look at this part while working. But we hear in Bhagavad Gita, and that is our experience too, that we are working every moment. There is, Bhagavad Gita says that not a single moment goes without our working. It is what works is our I, that ego, that is always making us various works. You may say, well, I am just sitting. Well, you are doing the work of sitting. So it is when, as long as there is this I, this ego, the work goes on. So while working means, now you can think, means always, isn't it? Because we are working always. Also feeling, when do we not feel? We are not aware of feeling when we are in deep sleep, but otherwise our feelings are there. So feeling is there, but then feeling God, that is where the real center of this today's discussion is. Feeling the God all the time, even while we are working. We may say that, well, when I meditate, I do feel God to some extent. When I am praying, I do feel. But when I am busy with work, like when I am teaching at school, or when I am studying, or I am cooking, I am washing clothes, at that time I don't feel that presence of God in and around. It is actually not very easy to feel, even for most of us, that while meditating or while praying, because even while meditating it so happens that the mind goes all over. So we feel for so many other things that, oh, there are so many problems in the world. Look at what's happening in Ukraine, and I heard again Corona is coming back. Well, the world is always full of problems. Look at what happened to this fellow, this friend of mine, and that relation of mine. So we always have these ideas, these feelings, even while we are sitting with the intent of feeling God or thinking of God. So, but yet even then the mind keeps on roaming about. Now, what about when we are not consciously trying to feel God? It just never occurs to us that we should feel God even then. Because God is the doer, God is making us work. We are just the instruments, God is the operator, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say always. That is the truth. But yet we do not, even though we agree in principle that yes, that is the case, but we don't really feel it, and therefore we don't feel the presence of God while we think we are at work. So for many this is a problem, that yes, when I am meditating or praying or some such thing that is directly intended for my spiritual practice, I get some feel of God. But when I am doing some other professional work, then the feeling for God goes away. So it is how to feel it even then. So it is, we see that our feeling is there, but it is not for the God. It gets distributed all over. We have some feeling, say, for the spouse, some feeling for the children, some feeling for our other friends and colleagues and siblings and parents and community and whatever. So we have feelings for them. So all the feeling power kind of gets dissipated, and so hardly anything remains for God. Now somebody will question that if I give all my feelings to God, what about my other family members? They already keep on accusing me that I do not pay enough attention to them, I have no feeling for them. It is, and if I say that, well, I will feel only God and then won't think of you guys, then that will be, some serious problem will come in life because of that I want to feel only God. Yes, but feeling the God is the only way of actually feeling for everyone. All people can be felt by feeling God. Like you say, we want to give nutrition to the whole body. So do we do like this, that okay, put some food on the palm, some on the nose, some on the head, because I have to feed everything, put some on the eyes. It is, what do you do, Charlie? Put food in the ear, some on the leg. No, that is not what we do. What do we do? Do we not put it in one place? We put it in the stomach, and put it in the mouth, and then every organ, every single limb, every single tissue gets the nutrition if we put it in the proper place. If we put it in the hand, if we put a nose, ear, everywhere, then not only the mouth will not get it, stomach will not get it, even these hands and head and all these, they also will not get it, because that is not the way that they can get food. It is through the mouth, it goes into stomach, gets properly processed, and the nutrition is then conveyed to every single particle according to its needs. That is how same thing applies here. If we put all our feelings in God, then others also can get it. But if we say, let me put some feeling for my parents, some for my siblings, some for my spouse or my children, then nobody gets it. Exactly like when we put some food here, there, none of these limbs get the food. Only way to get our feelings very well distributed to everyone is to give them to God. Give this, and you can see the result of it. Everybody will get it. Otherwise, nobody gets it, howsoever you may try, because that is not the way to make others feel. You may just enslave yourself and then enslave others also, but no feeling will arise there, because that is not the route by which you can make the world feel. There is a beautiful saying in many of these Vedantic scriptures, especially we say that at the end of our special worship, that it says that when you give to God, tasmin tushte jagat tushtam prinite prinatam jagat, that when you give to God, when God is satisfied, everybody gets satisfied. Tasmin tushte jagat tushtam, the whole world gets that through that divine who is in everyone. Is there any place, anybody where God is not? Everybody has that presence of God, and therefore when things are given to God, will everyone not get it? What, Naomi? Everyone will get it. That is the only way that we can actually love everybody. Otherwise, we do not love anybody. If we don't love God, then we may say that then I will, because of all my love, I love my children so much, I love my wife and husband or whatever so much, that that is, I think them as my God. It is nothing, neither will they be satisfied, and nor of course God will be satisfied, because that is not the way to give love to all. It is, one may say, I will do lot of all the philanthropic service, I will try to ameliorate the pain of the whole universe. Idea is good. My heart feels for those people who are suffering and are in pain. Yes, very good idea, but your service for them will not actually reach them until you see God in them. Otherwise, it will have the reactions of frustrations. It is very nice, and that is how it shows in their life as well. The best example for this is the great philanthropist Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. A great life, a very, very compassionate person, and who spent all his resources in helping people. And the result was everybody criticized him, even those who got the help from him, they criticized him. And his life became very bitter towards the end because of this experience, that all that kind of cynic ideas, somebody was hurling abuses at him. So he thought, why are you hurling abuses at me? I don't remember to have ever helped you. Means everybody whom he helped, they gave abuses to him. So, because that is not the way to help people, what happens when in this way if you help people, well, their need goes on growing. And then they keep on, yes, expecting. And so you will feel, how much can I do, and why you it is because that is not the way. It is, if you serve them as the images of God, that is a different thing. You are then turning your feelings Godward, and then by seeing God in them, everybody will get. And that is how we should think about this great topic. It is, I have taken up the life and some of the teachings of Brother Lawrence. His one book, it's a small but great treatise, friends, great in value, small in size. The practice of presence of God. It had been a great source of inspiration for me ever since I joined the monastic order. It was one of the books that I was given, presented by one senior Swami, that read this. It is a very nice book for learning to feel God while we are engaged in doing all different chores, daily chores of our life, you see. Everything that we do will then be directed to the proper source, the God. And thus we will see how we benefit by that. I will read a few things and then discuss also that he says, Brother Lawrence says, that it was a great delusion to think that the times of prayer ought to differ from other times, that we are as strictly obliged to adhere to God by action in the time of action as by prayer in its season. The feeling of God should be there constantly, and that is how, even while doing the work, you are praying, okay, if you are feeling God, hopefully, and then what about when you are doing different chores? At that time also, not only it is possible to feel God, it is necessary to feel God. Even then, there is not, because otherwise our spiritual life will be not going anywhere. That because only sometime we will be sitting for praying, and then at that time, maybe 1 hour or so, or 2 hours, and then for 2 hours suppose we are partially trying to feel God. What about remaining 22 hours? It is, say, 2 hours you are going forward, 22 hours you are going backwards. The net result won't be much forward movement. So it is, that is why it is important, friends, to learn to feel God even while we are working, and it is a delusion to think that, well, this is the time for prayer and this is the time for work. Okay, this is, yes, there is a time for prayer, but when we are working, still it is time for prayer. While working, the prayer must go on, the feeling of God must go on. This is a matter of practice, practicing the presence of God. Means the presence of God is there everywhere. God is all pervading. Even here, right now, God is with everyone. In every single particle, there is the presence of God. The question is feeling that presence. It is there, but its presence there is like the fact. But am I feeling it? If I don't feel it, I don't get the benefit of that presence of God. So it is, I have to feel it. I have to see that there is this God. And then it becomes right there, available at hand. So it is, and he continues further that his prayer was nothing else but a sense of the presence of God, his soul being at that time insensible to everything but divine love. Very nicely it is said that how can one feel God? See Sri Ramakrishna's life, that not sensible to any other thing, only feeling God, nothing else. That was how he was. And how was the work being done? The work was being done very nicely, meticulously, perfect in everything. Not that, oh, I was feeling God, and so therefore I did not clean the pots nicely. No, that was his chore, that important job to clean pots and pans and do other kitchen works. In fact, all his life he was doing just that. He was not a preacher in that sense. He was in that Catholic monastery, but he was not a preacher. So he was put to work in the kitchen, and that was great. A spiritual practice doesn't need that you have to be preacher. In fact, I have seen myself so many of our Swamis who never gave any sermon, and yet their life was so full of devotion. They were just working whatever work they had been allocated, no grumbling about it. No, I want this work, no, I cannot do this work, and like that. They were given some work and they did it. There was one Swami, passed away a few years ago, wonderful, was all his life what he did was to apply bandage to the wounded patients in our hospital in Benares. It is, and he used to do that meticulously, very nicely, how to do the bandage in such a nice way. He became so expert in that many nursing students and doctors also came to see how this fellow does it. This Swami, he became, because practice makes you perfect, your understanding grows, the work teaches us. But more important thing was, you could see that his very delighted face, as if you feel the presence of divine there, always thinking of these patients there as the images of God. He would be feeling this thought. Another wonderful Swami I met was, he was told to do help in Belur Math for cutting fruits for worship and do all those. Belur Math has a big temple, so always it's a big work to manage that room where all these articles are collected, properly kept, and then all the work to dress those things and bring it at the time of puja, a whole day's work. He would start at about 4 a.m. and almost till the night, till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, his work would continue. And he didn't go for preaching, but he was doing his work, always remembering God. And then that brought that kind of peace in him, peace as well as joy. The light on his face was for everybody to see. When he became old, not able to do these works, still all these other monks would go to see him because of this presence of God there. All these works, while working, feel the presence of God. That is the idea there. And then that brings that illumination in one's life so clearly, so perceptibly, that you then feel that yes, that is the way to feel the God while working. God is the doer, and God is like one feels, many people feel while they have been allocated a work in some establishment. They feel the presence of boss and around, not always very happily, but it is that is the presence. Now God is the super boss who guides all the works, does all the works using your limbs, as it were. It is so. When we come to this idea, we can see that the feeling of God actually around us becomes more and more pronounced. We will read that how he was doing it. It is and that when the appointed times of prayers were past, he found no difference while praying, feeling God, and when the time of prayer is finished, still feeling God in doing different works. So that is no difference at all whether the person is meditating or doing some other works. It is the same, and no difference at all. That it is, many have expressed this kind of feeling that okay, this is also every work is work of God. If I have to do it, yes, the God has given this opportunity to me to worship him through this work. That is the great idea you see in Bhagavad Gita, that in the 18th chapter it comes, a tremendously powerful idea that swakarmana tam abhyarcha, that God who pervades everything, who controls everything, that divine presence, you worship that divine presence by offering the flowers of your work. Whatever work has been given to you or has come to you, do it, and then that becomes the flower. and you offer that flower. So this is how it work then becomes worship. It is when it is offered to God, it becomes worship. This is how every action actually can be made into worship, just as there will be the arati or our worships means what you do, you offer some flower, you offer sandal paste, you offer some food and so forth, and say that well it is worship, and then it is over, that okay, done. Now why this gets called worship, tell me? Think about it, that why waving a light, it is an action, isn't it? You are waving a lamp. Teresa soon we will see her waving the lamp. Why it gets called worship and not doing the accounts work? Why doing account work, is it not worship? It is also work, like waving the light is work, so also doing accounts is work. Both are work. Why waving the light becomes worship? Think about it. It is simple, very simple, but one has to pay attention to this. Why waving light becomes worship? And the answer will emerge. It is because of the feeling, because of the attitude in that work, it becomes worship. Now why is it not possible to put the same attitude in any work? There is no answer to it. Every work has the same potential. In every work one can put that same attitude, and then what will happen, that work, that will also become worship. That work also will thus be able to make us feel the presence of God. No difference. That is what he says here. He says because he still continued with God, that is, he here means Brother Lawrence, still continued with God, praising and blessing him with all his might, so that he passed his life in continual joy, yet hoped that God would give him somewhat to suffer when he should grow stronger. Normal people don't pray like that, but the real devotees, they pray, God give me some suffering so that it will make me stronger. It is when there are some pleasant circumstances that God brings to us, God, you are so nice. Like that is what we do. Even the little children, when their parents give something that they were asking for, okay, I will give you this video game. Then the children say, oh, Mom, you are so good. If mom says, no, you should be doing this work, then it's not good. No, you will not get any video game. Then you are a monster mom, it is. That is the phrase that the children use. They get angry, but the real devotee is asking here that give me some suffering. Why? It will, that you should give it to me when I become stronger. And it has a hidden meaning, because that also tends to make us stronger. When we get it, then we feel, yes, it is the God gives suffering, we bear that suffering, and that makes us feel stronger. It is an exercise, like when you do some exercise, say weightlifting or some push-ups, what happens? your limbs get stronger. And it is similarly sufferings. To deal with sufferings is what makes us stronger and stronger. So a devotee asks for that. Let me have some sufferings, and not everything should be granted that is pleasant to me. That is the ordinary people pray like that, give me all the pleasant things. But what Jesus says, don't lead me into temptation. That is the prayer that Jesus teaches, that it is, let thy will be done, not my will, but let thy will be done. It is so a devotee feels that it is in this suffering we feel the desire for God more. It is so in suffering we get closer to God. There is a very beautiful Hindi couplet by Kabir, the Saint Kabir. He says that all people, you see, when there are calamities or sufferings, they pray to God. But when that is over, they stop praying. It is because now the suffering is over, the need for God is also over. It is, when somebody very close, beloved family member is sick, now pray, oh Swami, pray for my so and so, he is suffering so much. Maybe yes, okay, praying is, I will do prayers, but why not pray when there is all around happiness? Why do we have to pray only when we suffer? That is how at that time we remember God. Kabir says that if we keep the prayer on, even when there is happiness all around, I am happy, there is no suffering as such, even then why do we not pray? He says, if we pray then, there will be no need for suffering. We get suffering as a matter of compassion of God. God, who is so compassionate to us that when we are not praying, because things are all good, everything is nice, happy, so we are not praying. But then to make us pray, because we should pray, God is feeling that this I should teach these people to pray. How will they pray? Okay, put some test, put some sufferings in their life, and then they will start praying. There is this very nice incident in M's life, M. Mahendranath Gupta. He narrates it, a very telling incident, friends. It is a great teaching that a devotee like M narrates this, that he was going to some place, I am making this story short, and he had his diary in which he has written all these what we now read as the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He had written down cryptic those notes about that, which he then would meditate on those and expand. So that diary, and while he was traveling in the train, he left it there on the seat and got down. The tram went its way. Oh, my diary! And that was so valuable for him. His life was as it were there, and he started praying and crying, praying and praying. Those days the phones were not there, so he went here, there, told this person, that person, sent messages here and there, that okay. And the long and short of it is that after a couple of days, he got his diary back. So he felt so relieved, the treasure of his life, as if he was feeling that as if I had lost my heart, that kind of pangs he was feeling. Now the diary is restored. He felt so happy. Then after a little while he realized, now all that earnestness of prayer is gone. While the diary was missing, how earnestly I had prayed. Now, why am I not getting that same earnestness, not same feeling? That is the utility of suffering. We feel that sense that God is right with us. This is, we see further, let me read more. That we ought once for all heartily to put our whole trust in God and make a total surrender of ourselves to Him, secure that He would not deceive us. That is in our heart. God never can deceive us because we belong to God. So, even the parents can deceive the children. You see those things. The children, they deceive parents. But God cannot deceive us at all. This faith has to be held on to. We must put all our trust in God. See how we do the same example, we can again bring up for understanding. Do we not trust that if we put food in mouth, all our limbs are going to get refreshment? We have that trust, isn't it, Sarah? Yeah, so without any question, we put food in mouth. That we have trust that if I put food in mouth, my whole body, every limb will get energized. So have that trust in God that yes, He is the repository of everything. He is the source of everything. Whatever is given to God gets to everyone. So make our heart, just for God. Nothing else should interfere in that. So, that we ought not to be weary of doing little things for the love of God, who regards not the greatness of the work, but the love with which it is performed. And that is, how big a work that we do, that matters not at all. Whatever God has given, we should take it up. It may be seemingly very little, but that's it, God has given it, and let us do it. Maybe very simple something that I gave this some examples, that okay, clean this place, and that's it. One should happily go about doing it, because that is what God has given to me. It is, and thus if I do it, I will be feeling God. It is, but the love with which it is performed, that is all that God sees. It is not big or small of the work. Those who do lot of work, not that they are always feeling God. It is not the quantity of work, it is the feeling in the work. That is the most important thing, friends. So, that we should not wonder if in the beginning we often failed in our endeavors, but that at last we should gain a habit which will naturally produce its acts in us without our care and to our exceeding great delight. We progress in this gradually. We feel that delight coming from within because we get more and more the touch of God. It is that the whole substance of religion was faith, hope and charity by that practice. The practice of this feeling of God then makes everything full of charity. That when he began his business, and what was the business of Brother Lawrence? Praying God in every situation, while doing everything, pray to God, feel the God, feel that presence of God in and around. In our opening prayer we say that God is in and around everywhere in us. So, when he began his business, he said to God with that kind of filial trust in him, O my God, since thou art with me, and I must now, in obedience to thy commands, apply my mind to these outward things, I beseech thee to grant me the grace to continue in thy presence, and to this end do thou prosper me with thy assistance, receive all my works and possess all my affections. And this is the prayer when he is setting to do other things. As he proceeded in his work, he continued his familiar conversation with his Maker, the God. That is, he is our true Maker. It is, we are not made by some man and some woman coming together. That is not how, it is the God that made us. That is therefore our true parent. It is the human parents, they were just secondary instruments, that's all. So, of course, even then they must be adored, respected, but if they are to be respected, imagine how much more should we feel for our true parent. And that is the difference between, say, Jesus and we folks. Jesus never said that Mary and Joseph, they are my parents, my Father who is in heaven. That is the only understanding he had, because that is the real parent. It is just as when you write a nice poem, suppose you use a pen. These days they don't use pens, but suppose you are using a pen to write a nice poem. Who gets that authorship? Whether you get or the pen gets. The earthly human parents are like just the pens, secondary instruments. The maker is God. So, when we think of it, automatically we will start feeling for God. As he proceeded in his work, he continued his familiar conversation with his Maker, imploring his grace and offering to him all actions. When he had finished, he examined himself how he had discharged his duty. If he found well, he returned thanks to God. If otherwise, he asked of pardon, and without being discouraged, he set his mind right again and continued his exercise of the presence of God. Exercise is not that of work, that will go on, but while working, What is to be done? Where should the feeling be? Feeling the presence of God. That is how he was doing it. And his mind right again and continued his exercise of the presence of God as if he had never deviated from it. Because it is prayer, well, prayer is done, now finished the exercise with God. No, never deviate from it. Prayers in different forms, like sometimes you will offer sandal paste, sometimes you will offer flower, and sometimes you will offer your washing of clothes. All these things, no break at all there, break only in the mode of worship, but the feeling of God is the constant factor going on there, constant. Like I am talking, different words are coming, but the mouth is doing like this constantly, same. So similarly, the heart would always remain with God, whatever the mode of action or worship be there. Thus said he, by rising after my falls and by frequently renewed acts of faith and love, I am come to a state wherein it would be as difficult for me not to think of God as it was at first to accustom myself to it. Progress happens. You progress, and then in the beginning, yes, it was difficult to feel presence of God, but when you keep on practicing, that becomes just natural. It is that is how in everything, as we progress, as we practice, we will feel that yes, it is coming very naturally. Without putting any conscious efforts. Now he could not tear away from God at all, even if he wants to. There is this incident of Swami Shivananda, a great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So one novice was asking him that why the bad thoughts still assail my mind. And he smiled and said, well, continue the practice, and after some time you will put the question in a different way, that how can bad thoughts ever come in mind? It will become so full with the divine presence that there won't be any room for the other thoughts. So the time of business, said he, does not with me differ from the time of prayer. And in the noise and clutter of my kitchen, because that was where he used to be, it is not the most silent places that you can think of for prayer. Clutter is going on, people are saying things, shouting here and there, and then one of our kitchen managers used to say, most thankless job to be a kitchen manager, because you cannot satisfy everybody, so many people. Some people will be always dissatisfied, this is not done right, that should be done better, that should have been and he would get scolded by so many others also. So a thankless job, he says that that's it, even in the midst of all this noise, his mind did not waver at all from that presence of God in and through all this. So this is something that we should note. This was the work, as I mentioned, given to him. I possess God in as great tranquility as if I were upon my knees at the blessed sacrament. When the sacrament ritual is happening, everybody is praying, they are kneeling down and feeling God. Same feeling God is even when he is working in kitchen, that God does not go away from him. And this is how we will also be able to do it. That is, in fact, in one's spiritual life, this is the most important thing, to learn to feel that the God is around me. He is right here. It is, and He is in me. He is guiding me in everything that I am doing. And see how blessed the life will thus be. So friends, let us pray that may we try our best to feel this presence of God doing each and every action. Let us feel that through our limbs that God is doing it. It is through God that I can scatter love to everyone and not separately. It is also, let us pray that may, O Lord, Thy presence be in each and everything that I do. Let me remember it. If I don't remember at that time, at least after the work is done, let me offer it to you. It is, in the beginning, let me pray and try to feel the presence even while working, and at the end, let me offer it to you. For you I have done it. So that will enrich our life. Let us feel this idea, and then if you have any comments or questions, we can take that up. Any questions? Yes, Charlie.
How can you say God never deceives anyone when people believe all sorts of
Please speak more clear.
How can you
hold it like this, yeah.
How can you say God never deceives anyone
God?
when God never deceives anyone?
God never deceives anyone.
When people believe all sorts of false things.
Well, that is, they believe, that is not the fault of God. They want to believe like that, so God does not say that you believe like this. It is, they think that they should do and then put it on God, that it is, God does not cheat anybody, because God is the reality of everyone. So therefore, God cannot cheat anybody. We are all for God His own. Just as your left hand doesn't cheat your right hand, does it? No, you cannot even think about it, that how the left hand, although I had read in a humorous book that there was a training school for thieves, how you can become a good thief. So the first exercise was, to snatch something in the left hand by the right hand without left hand knowing it. So that is that is one initial exercise. It is God being our true reality, and it cannot really cheat anybody, cannot really deceive anybody. So that is how anybody else has the motives to, that because of this separation, that this fellow has grabbed this, let me take it from this fellow. So there is that selfishness associated with it. But with God being the reality of all, that possibility, that chance is not there. Any other question? Oh, this Abhishek has question.
Maharaj, if a person becomes a patient, only then he remembers doctor, only then he has to go to the doctor. But if a patient all the time wants to think about the doctor, that is not a good thing, because doctor is not needed at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
And now the doctor calling that, okay, I will make you suffer because you are not coming to me, that is cruel on the part of the doctor to do that.
For that example it is true. But for God, our remembering God all the time is going to make our life blissful. And therefore, if we are remembering God all the time, that will make our life serene, fulfilled and blissful. And therefore, if we are not feeling God or praying to God, okay, let me put some suffering, then you will remember it. That is what God does. It is, although your analogy, you are a very intelligent guy, your analogy is very good, but it doesn't fit for God. Because the doctor is not really working for your good. It is, one doctor told me, it is a joke but very nice, that it is, he was telling me that you must always come whenever you are on this side, and he lives in Connecticut, very nice gentleman, very wonderful devotee. I said, but you are a working doctor, so many patients, they come to you, so it is, I don't want to take your time with patients. So he said, oh, forget it, the patients, whether they come to the doctor, whether they come to me or they don't come to me, the outcome is same, only income differs. So it is, the income becomes different, outcome is more or less same. So it is, with God it is not like that. There is absolutely nothing that God demands from us, or it is, our betterment is only thing that God wants. The more we feel God, the better we become, and thus that is why if we are not feeling God, we are not feeling the truth. If we are not feeling God, then we are not feeling the source of happiness. So therefore, to make us feel that, okay, ordinarily if you are not feeling, okay, let me put a little suffering, then you will feel, and that should continue even when there is no suffering. Yeah.
So Maharaj, the main question now. So all the hospitals and all the healthcare workers that really are doing such a good service for to maintain people's life at old age, or who are suffering from very terrible diseases. So all those hospitals and healthcare workers are clearly not doing it with the intention to serve God in that case, but still that is making a lot of difference. So are you saying that all those hospitals and doctors and all the healthcare workers or the teachers have to perform those actions with the link to God, and only then those actions will become more meaningful?
Of course, they will become much more meaningful. They will become the source of solace and peace and joy for those who are doing the service. Otherwise, that will be, if they do the work honestly, sincerely, then that may be helpful to the patients. But that may not be helpful to them, except they will get some their wages and whatever by doing it. But when they do it by seeing God in them, then that will change the life of this person. if you read, the first chapter of Karma Yoga, or you just look at the title of the first chapter of Vivekananda's book Karma Yoga, it says karma in its effect on character. That means karma has so many other effects, work has so many other effects. But in Karma Yoga, what we study is the effect of work on the worker. Not the outer effect, but how the work is molding the worker. So that is where the difference comes. Yeah. Any questions there?
Yes, Maharaj, one question.
Okay.
Question from GP Krishnamurti. Dear Maharaj, Sashtang Pranam. You mentioned that God is right here among us, but we should feel it to benefit from that. Thinking of one analogy that Holy Mother said, in quote, whether you jump in or you are pushed into water, you will get wet all the same, end of quote. So why are we not automatically feeling the presence of the Lord without consciously attempting to feel it?
We do feel it when somebody pushes us, that is when suffering comes, then you are pushed in waters and you are kind of, feeling that suffocation and such things, and so you start praying for God. That is why this suffering is given, so that you will feel God. Otherwise, if we can feel without suffering, then we don't need suffering in life. There will be no suffering at all, because the remembrance of God will make everything, that it is whatever external thing may be, but you will not suffer at all because you are with God. So that is why that we, when we make this effort, if our effort is not sufficient, then God says, okay, let me give you a push. So that push is this suffering that comes in life, then we remember it. Yeah, that is how, as Holy Mother says, that somebody pushes you, or you, if you voluntarily are jumping in waters, then you don't need push. In fact, you are happy that yes, I am going to have a wonderful swim today. But if you are not doing that, but your well-wisher comes and gives you a jerky push there, and then you fall in the waters, not by your own wish, but now you have to swim. Having been pushed in water, you get wet anyways. So that is how that method has been given by Holy Mother, that is how the result then remains the same. You start remembering God, at least because of that push. So gradually you won't need that push, and thus you will always remember God. It will be as like Brother Lawrence's case with us as well, that it will be difficult for us to forget God. Now it is difficult to keep on remembering God, but when that happens, then it will be difficult to forget God. Thank you. So let us read the next coming programs. Next Sunday, April 10th, it is a day for the worship of Rama, Rama Navami, the 9th day, and after this a new moon day. So it is the bright 9th day of the bright cycle. So it will be the topic is about Rama, a great teacher of karma yoga. It will tie very well in with what we discussed today, that Rama, a great teacher of karma yoga, yoga of action, and that will get followed by Ram Nam Sankirtanam, and other classes during the week will go on as usual. Tuesdays it is the Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play, and on Fridays it is stories from Srimad Bhagavatam, both at 7:30 p.m. Every day there is the meditation and prayer session at in the morning and evening at from 5:45 to 7 o'clock in the morning, and then from 7 p.m. To about 8 o'clock in the evening. But you have to arrive here at the within the appointed times. So with that, now I will do the closing prayer. One announcement, that our holy soup suppers, some of you might still be remembering, we did not have those for last 2+ years because of the, the reason, I don't have to tell, but that reason is now kind of receding, and hopefully let it continue to recede. So from today we are starting soup supper. So good, wow. Yeah, so please join in taking a little soup. So it is this lady Chandana, she helped preparing it today. So now let us go for closing prayers, then the arati, and then soup supper, and then you can say bye-bye. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
ever created in your infinite love. Your feet always dear to your devotees. Your feet always dear to your devotees. Form our boat to cross this world. Revealed to us as God incarnate and the Lord of all things, helping us join with you. Your mind's always set in the divine light. Your mind's always set in the divine light. This we can see through your grace. Destroyer of our worldly sorrow and compassion soul, infinite is your work. Your lives offered for the world's deliverance. Your lives offered for the world's deliverance, saving us from darkness and fear. Renouncer of all lust and lucre, therefore you were always swirling sensual life. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Grant to us pure love for you. You're fearless and you're free from doubting, with your mind very firmly resolved. Causeless refuge of your devotees. Causeless refuge of your devotees. Renouncing caste and birth. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even-sightedness. You give love and even-sightedness to remove our anguish here. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even-sightedness. You give love and even-sightedness to remove our anguish here. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Yet you are the basis of hope. O Lord, yet you are the basis of hope. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's cave. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's cave. Darkness is destroyed by your light. O Lord, darkness is destroyed by your light. Greetings graciousness sublime, all noble ends you give to us, granting us refuge, all seeing glory. O Mother Divine, our love to you. Creation, preservation, dissolution are your powers, eternal one. Nature's real basis, nature's essence. O Mother Divine, our love to you. We come seeking refuge from anguish. Be our Savior through your deep concern. All our suffering remove, Goddess. O Mother Divine, our love to you. Victory, O Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Jai Shri Ramakrishna Deva Ki Jai. Jai Shri Sarada Devi Ki Jai. Jai Shri Swami Vivekananda Ki Jai. Jai Shri